got my very own tars. Look at this guy.
So when you were inside and all of a sudden your wife says, Kevin, you need to come inside and do the dishes.
Right.
And because your sphere is already on a hill, you're just going to pull this pin and you're going to drop and roll away. Off you go.
Well, good morning, guys. Today we're in the shop because we're starting a brand new project and I'm pretty excited about it.
Too far.
It involves welding, it involves metal, it involves steel. It's all stuff I don't usually work with, but I want to. I feel the need to. So we're gonna introduce our star of the show today. He's just rolling in here and you're thinking, what the heck am I gonna do with this thing? You gonna stay there? This is a wire spool. Now, there would be a giant black pipe conduit thing on this thing, and they use it to run, I think, fiber optics in it. And anyways, the company that, I guess you put a deposit down on these things and you return them at the end of your project and you get your money back. But as it turns out, this company no longer exists, so I have a bunch of these things, and I was asked if I wanted them, and I was like, yes, I do, because they're really cool. And they're like, what are you gonna do with them? I'm like, I don't know. So I've come up with an idea now, and I want you guys to join me on my adventure in welding. It's tall, it's very, very tall. And my plan is to suspend it somehow and make something really cool. But first I have to take them apart and make them into a giant hula hoop. So let's get started. After taking the rings and cutting the spokes out, I had Don with his trusty grinder. What'd you use? Used a trusty grinder. That's right. It's not a flap disc, it's a sanding pad. These actually work way better than a flap disc. I'm sure there's a reason why you use a flap disc and a reason why you use this thing, but this thing takes off a lot of material in a hurry. It's also 36 grit. We took that and we took the remnants of what we cut off with the Sawzall, and we polished it down because it gives us a nice smooth surface to use our rings. So we've got 5 rings because I want to use 4 rings as the center sphere and then take the 5th ring and kind of go around the equator. We'll call it the equator of the sphere in order to kind of tie all our, is that longitudinal lines? Or is it latitudinal lines? The ones that go around the earth this way. I guess it depends which way the earth. Longitude. So we're going to tie in our latitudinal lines with our longitudinal lines. Tell that 3 times fast. So we have to take another ring. We have to cut a section, the width of the pipe out in order to weld it top and bottom and give us, we're going to make a hat first, and then we're going to make a sphere, and then we're going to tack on more pieces of metal. I figured to give you guys a little bit of a tip if you're trying to find the center of a circle. Now, fortunately, these spool ends already have the center of the circle planned. But if you were trying to find the center of a circle, usually, you just kind of, draw a line from one side to the other and you hope for the best. And you think, hey, hopefully it is in the center of the circle. But there's a potential for failure not finding the center of the circle. So if you take a cylinder or a circle and you put it in a square on a 45-degree angle from the center, having your squares touch, that is the center of that circle. So if you want to find the very middle, you guys get the idea. So everything's touching on all sides, and then the 45-degree line across the middle, it gives you the center of that circle. In order to place my 2 final ribs, I ended up using a clamp and a spacer plate in order to clamp it in because it was a little sprung. I don't know if it got dented during the course of its life, but I had to force it in place with a C-clamp and a spacer. It's always handy if you're working alone to have some sort of clamping, especially when you're using any kind of do with metal, so you can hold it in place so it's still, and then you can just tack weld it in place and then remove your clamps and then do the finish weld. I learned that from my buddy Dennis while I was watching him actually build the hot tub. He was clamping pretty much everything, but he was also doing a little bit more finicky welding, TIG welding. This is MIG welding, wire feed welding. I'm not the greatest welder, but I try my best. Well, I haven't done a cool tool time in a while, so might as well do one now. This is the K-Wheats line laser level, and it's invaluable whenever you're doing something that's an oddball shape and you need to make it level or plumb, or if you want to hang pictures in your house. This is the K-Wheats laser level. Check them out. I highly recommend them. I've been using them for a while. It's a really bright green line, especially if you're using it during the daylight. What I'm going to use this thing for is actually to make my equator line. So I've got my north pole up top, my south pole down below, and what I'm going to do is attach this to the metal of the building and find my equator, because what I want to do is tack on more steel around the perimeter of my globe in order to add a little bit more structural integrity, a little bit more rigidity, so my longitudinal, latitudinal lines, is it longitudinal? Latitudinal? I'm making one or the other. I'm making lines and I want them to be level. I want the equator to be perfectly equal or something. Now, let's get this thing set up, and then I can mark all my lines, and then I don't care where the ball goes because I'll already have my lines marked.
In the wheel.
All right, we're moving right along. The other day I got the equator all welded in. That gives me much needed rigidity on the sphere, and today I'm going to be working on a door, because I figure, why not make the door out of metal, and then once I get it out into the forest, I don't need to worry about sort of getting hinges attached to steel and all that good stuff. So that's my plan today. It's also kind of like my plan was to be in the forest today, but it is kind of a rain delay working with metal because, well, I guess I'm a metal expert now. No, I'm not. What do you think, Dad?
Yeah, everything's round. I usually am around.
Yeah?
Yeah. The last time I was down here, they tried to put me in the swamp with the round piece.
The tube, it's always around when you're around.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
for sure.
That's a good dad joke. I'll put that in my back pocket. The guys that are just tuning in right now are probably a little bit confused, perhaps, because they think this guy is Don, because he looks like Don. And the reality is, this is Don, but this isn't the other Don. This is Don, my dad. Are you guys following? So there's two Dons that appear on my channel. One is my dad, and the other is my friend, but they're both named Don. So I hope that clears everything up. This is my dad, Don, and the other guy is Don, my friend. Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me.
All right, the two Dons, man. In order to make the door on the sphere, I ended up using another one of my rings. I cut out the spokes, and then I took the material from the ring, and then I carefully fit it into the existing slice of the sphere. It was quite difficult because there was compound radius angles, and I managed to fit it up with a bunch of clamps and a bunch of other vice grip things in order to kind of temporarily position it in order to get a weld on it. Kind of the good thing about welding is you can kind of set everything in place before you tack it together. And then I ended up picking up a couple of weldable hinges. As it turns out, they're crazy expensive right now. And I welded it together, and then I tested to make sure it opens and closes. And I'm very pleased with the way that thing fits. This is the largest scale metal fabrication project I've ever undertaken. And it seems to be going really well. So I'm just waiting for the stuff to start going wrong, which hopefully it doesn't, but you never know. Okay, you can see the door. Door opens like this, swings, flops down, sits up tight. Just get some weather stripping in that. Got to tack it together, more welds to kind of seam it together, full weld, but I'm pretty happy with the way that door turned out. I got my very own tars. Look at this guy. now that I have the main structure of the cabin built, I need to make some sort of a hangar. And to do that, I'm going to actually ask my buddy Dennis, he's a professional welder, to make me sort of like a thing on a helicopter. I think it's called the Jesus pin, and it holds the rotor blades on the helicopter. And they call it that because if that little pin fails, the helicopter goes, and it fails catastrophically. So I'm going to employ an expert in the industry of welding, which is my buddy Dennis. So he's going to do that. I'm going to actually go visit him now. I'm going to bring him some plate steel, and then he's got a solution to have this thing hang in the forest.
There's your Jesus pin.
Sweet.
Modern engineering.
Modern engineering. So, Dennis, what did you build for me? What's this thing?
Well,
How did you go about doing this? So you're gonna demonstrate the pin. So what's gonna happen?
the Jesus pin. So when you were inside and all of a sudden your wife says, Kevin, you need to come inside and do the dishes.
Right.
And because your sphere is already on a hill, you're just going to pull this pin and you're going to drop and roll away. Off you go. When you came to me with this crazy idea about, this sphere, room, ball, what do you call it?
It's a sphere.
A sphere.
Sphere. It's
All
the ball. It's the ball sphere.
All right, so
It's a spaceship, so I can go to my home planet.
oh, well, yeah, it's okay. So you needed a sphere, but you needed something to hang it.
That's right.
Because you want to suspend it in midair via a chain, so that you can also take it apart.
Right.
Right. So
You can pull the pin and roll away.
you could pull the pin and roll away. Man, I really want to see that happen. That would be so awesome. So when you came to me with this crazy idea, I thought about it. It's like, okay, well, if you have a Jesus pin, is that what?
It's a Jesus nut.
A Jesus nut.
A Jesus nut is the nut that holds the helicopter rotor blade on a helicopter.
All right, so I kind of took that and okay, well, you want a pin to just pull out and disengage it in case you want to roll away and real quick getaway.
Like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic the Hedgehog, I love it. You can get that thing going,
Yeah,
and then off you go.
that'd be kind of cool.
So when you drop, bam,
That's
right,
gonna be awesome.
or kind of like that great big giant ball in
The Raiders of the Lost Ark.
that's the one.
That'd be cool.
That would be so cool. Anyway, so you came to me with this crazy idea, and I thought, okay, well, you need a chain. So you went to a store, you got a
Princess
chain.
Auto. Princess Auto chain.
Princess Auto chain. They didn't have like a pin for you, so we just kind of made one up. And so anyway, so you had some discs that you had salvaged. So basically, the only thing you bought was a chain. Everything else we made from salvage.
Because when you're dealing with safety, you don't want a questionable chain. You want one that has a load rating, a working rating,
Right.
and you want to not exceed that.
Right. So I think that you kind of like went overkill on the chain, which is okay. Because, I mean, it's really, you're the one inside this
That's right.
sphere.
Sphere.
And so anyway, so you made this thing and you brought me some parts and I just kind of cut it, bored a hole in one, made a kind of like a slip joint so it can actually spin
That's
for
right.
you.
We're gonna grease it up.
We're going to grease it up, grease the living bejesus out of it. And yeah, let's see what we can do.
It'll spin like the Earth.
Spin like the earth. That
That's
would
right,
be really
'cause
cool. You could put like lights on it and then suspend it from
Well, don't
a crane.
give it away.
Oh, all right.
All right. Let's. We're gonna get this doohickey, the doohickey thingamabob that we've created, and get it back.
That's our new name, Doohickey Thingamabob.
That's right.
All right, cool.
There should be like a doohickey thingamabob company,
That's right.
limited,
Right, limited.
Incorporated.
Sure.
Doohickey thingamabob Incorporated.
I got to talk to my wife then.
All right.
She's a corporate lawyer. I don't know.
Let's get this thing hung. In order to create our Jesus nut, we first started with a couple of punch outs from plate steel that I had left over, and Dennis took them and punched about 1.5 inch hole in order to accommodate the chain, and then took another plate and made it exactly the size of a one chain link, so we could then put a pin through that chain in order to hold it in place. We also ended up cutting a 2-inch hole and another disc acting as a slip disc in order to allow our sphere to pivot once it's hanging in the air. Doesn't matter how many times you tell it it's hot, you gotta touch it.
You gotta try it.
You gotta touch it, you gotta touch it to see how hot it is.
It's not. It's warm.
It's warm and it's spectry. Still got to grind that down because it's a fresh weld. I figured we could celebrate this milestone of having the sphere done with a coffee, because this has taken a while. It's probably in your time it's probably been like 10 minutes, and my time it's been a week and a half. Working with steel is slow yet satisfying. I find every piece you add, it's just like it's satisfying. I don't even know how to do it. Is that how you feel, Don? How do you
More
feel?
substantial,
It's
right?
more substantial. It's heavy. It's unforgiving. It's a thing. I don't know. This is my first and largest welding project. I'm pretty proud of it. It looks pretty darn cool.
Should be. It's
Doesn't it look cool?
It is.
Speaking
Very
of cool, we have a Dawn sponsor. A company reached out and said, we want to send you some clothes, and they outfitted Dawn with like a whole bunch of gear. You got the hat on? Actually, I have the hat on. It's the link will be in the description down below. And you got the t-shirt,
which is,
like full organic cotton.
yeah, 100% organic.
And you got some pants and a jacket. So you're going to see that a little later on when it gets
and
a
I
little
also got a rucksack.
rucksack. That's cool. So yeah, you'll see it pretty much when it gets cooler out. And I got some stuff too, which is really nice. I almost feel bad wearing it to work in. It's so nice.
Yeah, it is really high quality, nice product.
Yeah, like that's
So
like
thank you to Cool.
yeah, cool. Is it cool or cool? I don't know. It's K, the U with the 2 dots of the AHL. It's
That's
cool.
right.
Now let's get this ball into the forest. Get the ball rolling. Oh man.
You gotta get rid of this tree.
Well, there's something about sitting on the forest floor that's just relaxing. The plan is to clear out somewhat of an area in this pine forest in order to make our teepee, in order to suspend our sphere. And what we're using for those guys is white pine that are standing dead. So my ultimate goal is to rehabilitate this pine forest because it was planted about 40 years ago, and they planted them too close together and had never been thinned. So what I'm doing is actually taking down all of the standing dead trees. Well, at least I'm trying to. It's been 5 years I've been taking down dead trees, and I still haven't got them all. You can see like the bark just kind of sloughs off of the tree. You can see this guy down here. The reality is, if you were to cut a live pine tree in this forest, you wouldn't be able to lift it. They are extremely heavy when they are alive, and you could tell that they're dead because of the barks coming off, because there's no pine needles at the top. They have been long dead. We're preventing large-scale catastrophe with forest fires and whatnot. This is a monoculture forest, and it needs to be rehabilitated. I haven't yet cut any live trees out of this forest, but the plan is to ultimately cut live trees out to thin this thing out so there's light to the forest floor. It's like late afternoon, there's no sunshine down here. Got to do some more cutting. What do you think, Don?
Should be a great spot for it.
Come here, say hello. Come on, Ricky. Come here. Don loves peeling logs. Where's your shovel? It's like picking a scab.
The door should come this way, right?
No,
Wow.
this way.
This way. Something on
How cool is that? That's where she's gonna live. In the air. Right there. Can we get this thing in the air, Don? All right, bring you guys up to speed on this little project, the old big teepee erection. We've got 2 long poles, they're about 21 feet long, and we've got them lagged around the 20-foot mark with lag and then double nutted some washers. And then we have a rope, and the rope is attached to above, well, it's not attached, actually it's sitting above our sphere, and then it comes all the way over here and it attaches to the front of the trusty Kubota tractor. Now the plan is to take the tractor, back it up that way, and the A of the teepee is going to stand up straight and give us an anchor point for the sphere. That is the plan. I don't know if it's going to work. Slight change of plans. We've added our 3rd leg because I feel it's going to be easier to have it on now than it is to attach it later. But I've only attached it temporarily. I got a ratchet strap around it. So once we stand it up, we can turn it into the crotch area here, and then I'll scurry up a ladder and attach it with a leg and some chain. But we can't, it's really hard to stand up 20-foot poles. Who would have thought? This way a bit. Okay. We've got the teepee up and it is huge. I didn't think it was going to look this big. It is massive, but we got it up there and it's holding strong. I've got 3 legs in it and a couple of structural screws I've put up there to kind of, well, temporarily hold it until I got the chain around it. So I got the chain around the top of the teepee in order to kind of cinch it there. And then what's going to happen is I got the chain hoist at the top, and that's going to allow me to raise the sphere up into the air and then secure it in place with a secondary chain that's going to wrap around top chain, which is going to in turn allow us to suspend in midair. I like the way this thing is hanging. It's in a pretty good spot right now. It may require a little bit more tweaking to get it in its perfect location, but ideally I want to be able to raise and lower this thing to work on it. So you guys can see that that's the growth rings. You can see how thin the growth rings are later on in life. You can see down near the middle where the tree first started, it was adding growth rings, very large growth rings, up until about this point. So the last inch, you probably have about 20 or 30 years crammed in that last inch. And then 50 or so years before that, which is crazy how slow it grows once it gets to a certain size. That's why they encourage you to plant new trees, is because the old ones don't grow as quickly. Well, Don and I are at the lumber store. What are you going to pick? You going to pick the straightest 2x4 out there in the forest?
Well, I think we already got the chosen one.
True, we have been looking around a little bit because we're practicing good forestry management techniques here. This is the cedar
area of the forest. So there's a lot of cedar that grows here, and practicing good forest management technique, generally speaking, you would take a clump of 3 cedar trees and you would take out 2 of the 3 cedar trees. If the clump of 4, you generally take out 3 of those clump of 4 and you let the other one sort of thrive. They only get to a specific size because they just don't have that many nutrients to thrive, because they're so tightly close together, and they're also competing for sunshine and whatnot. So that's what we're doing right now, is we're trying to select something that is going to allow everything that is left over to prosper. So this guy over here, this is the old bat in this clump of trees. So I'm probably going to take this one down because I think it's going to be ideal wood for what I want to do with it. And it's surrounded by a number of little trees that will thrive having more light. So this is an ash tree. This is going to come down due to the emerald ash borer at some point. So my plan is to actually use this ash tree kind of as a slide, because I want to just slide down, pull it out, and not damage any other trees, because I have some budding maple trees up here. So this little guy here is a maple tree. As you can see, there's maple leaves on it, and I want it to prosper and grow. But it is shaded, so that's cedar. And then there's a it's a tall cherry. This is a tall cherry tree sitting right here, and then we have some more maples. So the idea is to kind of, you thinning it out, you're adding more light to the forest floor, you're preventing forest fires. Younger trees tend to grow faster with more vigor and, sequester more carbon if you're into that sort of thing. There is a lot of up and coming new stuff. This is an old forest and it has to be thinned out. And I want it to be straight grained and all that sort of stuff. So this is eastern white cedar. I'm gonna knock it down and hopefully it'll go smoothly and we get it up to the mill and make our exterior cladding on our sphere. You're a little sore from yesterday. Yesterday we actually did firewood all day. My arms feel a little bit longer today.
Yeah.
My legs feel a little bit shorter.
That's right.
This should go well. Figure while I'm down this way I might as well feed the fish just to see. You can see the water clarity seems to be pretty good. And then we got some fish food. Watch. They're hungry little buggers. Was that a backflip? I give those guys a second helping. They seem to be very hungry. They seem to be very active. I think the water's cooling down and they're becoming more and more active. So now is the time. You can see them right there. Now's the time to fatten them up, because we're gonna let this thing freeze solid for skating in the wintertime. If you guys need fish, Linden's Fish Hatchery is where we got these trout. They're very hardy fish. So, like acrobatic trout. Anytime you can clean your logs of the debris and the sand that accumulated on the log when you were skidding it up, it makes your blade last significantly longer. Cedar tends to have a lot of sand in it already, so your blades don't have a lot of life milling cedar, because I think they suck up the sand when they grow. But there was a significant amount of sand sitting on the side. I ended up using it's a Woodsman's Pal. It's got a tapered edge on the one side so it doesn't dig in, and it seems to be working really well to get the actual bark off the one side where the majority of the sand was. You can't get all the sand off, but once that's off, then we can start milling it. Hopefully our blade lasts a really long time. Well, that was a successful trip to the lumber store. We got ourselves a couple of white ash trees that we're gonna mill up. We're just dragging them over to the mill. And we're gonna mill them into some really thin slices because we need them to bend. Hey Don, it's your favorite stuff to work with.
Look, I've already got done.
How did you?
Already got done an old t-shirt.
Oh, okay. How did you? You always seem to get construction these. It doesn't matter what we're doing. You get it on you. You got the gloves
course,
now,
yeah.
right?
But I'll by the end of the day, I'll have some on me.
Like on your
somewhere.
face?
Yeah, I'll have my eyelids glued shut or something.
We'll check back. We got some construction adhesive, the PL stuff, and we're going to glue it onto the steel. All right, now that we got all our wood sorted out, we can start cladding our sphere. So it's really hard to attach wood to steel. So what I'm gonna do is, well, Don's gonna give me a hand. He's here with, we got some 5/8 plywood we ripped up on the table saw. And what the plan is to use some Tech screws, screw it to the frame of the sphere and glue it at the same time. And that gives us a good nailing edge because we have to do cedar around the entire, we're gonna start at the equator of the sphere to do the cedar. But first we have to get the longitudinal lines.
That's right, yes.
Longitudinal, are they what's latitudinal?
That's the equator.
That's the equator, the latitudinal line. The latitudinal line is how we're going to run our cedar. In the longitudinal? The longitudinal lines is how we're going to run our plywood, and then we'll run our cedar perpendicular to that. Wow. Geography lessons. It's crazy. Let's get started. We had a sort of a rain delay today, and it's just sort of dried up now. So we've got our sphere all dried up. We've actually lowered it to the ground so we can actually work on it a little easier, which is really convenient. So we've got the come along up top there. We've lowered it to nice working height. That'll actually be a godsend, because if anybody's ever worked in the air, they know it's not easy. If you can move your stuff down lower, that's ideal. I guess I'm not quite used to this new world material. This is quite stark comparison between the old plywood and the new plywood. I had a couple of pieces left over, like a 2 foot by 8 foot chunk of old plywood, and this is like, again, it's construction grade 5/8 square edge board, you know, good no sides, and this is old plywood, and you can see it made the radius no problem, didn't buckle, nothing. And then the new plywood that I bought the other day, it broke here, it broke here, it broke here. Oh, that's the joint. So, and like it kind of repeated itself everywhere. Kind of like, why did that delaminate and explode? I don't know. Like, it happened again over here. Like, it's not super critical because this is a nailing edge, but it just goes to show you that I think we're going the wrong way. I took the time to grab my angle grinder and flatten out all of the spots that were sitting a little bit proud, because whenever you're bending something around something else, you always kind of want no sharp edges, because that's when it tends to break. Now all we got to do is find out, will it bend? Now we got it all milled up. How many square feet do we need? Do you know the equation on that? What was it like?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't remember it either.
Remember.
It was like pi r squared sphere half of double or something. Anyways, we got a lot of cedar milled up. It's 1/2 inch by 3 inch. It is fresh cedar, meaning it is green. We're gonna put it on. Hopefully it bends and doesn't break like our plywood does, or there'll be a lot of swearing in the forest with Kevin. The plan is to bridge one of the spokes. So we go from one spoke, skip over the other spoke, and then have it screwed or stapled. We're actually going to staple it to the 3rd spoke, and then we're going to run our seams along there, and that's hopefully going to give us a nice uniform ball-like sphere, because I want it to look as much like a ball as possible. And then I've got some other plans for the seams and some waterproofing techniques. So that's our, oh yeah, our waterproofing techniques. I'm glad I talked to you guys. You guys just reminded me. I got to put strips of waterproofing on this stuff before I do that. So I'm gonna do that now, and you guys can see it right now. Got my waterproofing all on, and my theory is that when the water hits this and the screws or nails or staples that we're gonna put in here are going to seal around the wood and then prevent this from actually getting wet. And then once it gets to here, I'm not really worried about it, because water would have to flow uphill, and the whole thing's going to be clad with cedar, which is naturally water repellent, so I don't think I'll get any water in. But I'm also going to waterproof it from the inside afterwards with another product. But I have to get my cladding on first. So let's get some cedar, see if we can bend it up. I'm hopeful it's going to bend easy. Well, we've run into a little bit of a situation, and I'm not exactly sure how to solve it. Maybe you guys can figure this out for me. So we tried to go from the equator horizontally, and what's happening is you can see we're getting it straight up and down. We keep stacking it on each other. But then if I look over here, we spin this guy around. We did like the au natural and just kind of let it flow to where it wants to go. And it seems like I got literally one screw on one side, one screw on the other, and it's kind of like naturally gone around that. And I don't know if at some point we're gonna get to a spot where it doesn't want to bend. I'm not sure. I kind of like the natural swirl, but I'm not sure if it's gonna, if we get like 4 rows in and then we can't bend it anymore. Maybe we'll go the natural and see if it how far we can get. Well, Don, have we figured out what the heck we're doing yet?
It's looking pretty good.
It's getting there. I think what our plan, what our technique now is to go 5 rows at 3" and then change direction. So we're always kind of going around the center of the ball. Because if we go beyond 5, what happens is it starts to it starts to stack on top of each other and it doesn't twist. I don't know. This is my first time building the ball. Is this your first time building the ball?
It certainly is.
It's very, yeah. We're coming around the corner, I hope. So yeah, it's kind of like a mismatch sort of, I don't know, what would you call that? Is there a word for that? Like
It's
origami?
almost like wrapping a ball of yarn.
Ball of yarn, yes, like wrapping a ball of yarn. You always kind of keep changing direction so you don't get like a big puffy spot on the one side. So how do you feel about that cool? Is it cool?
It is cool today, but
You got your cool on.
I've got my cool on.
Yeah.
It's working really well.
It's stopping the wind, right?
It does, yeah. Yeah, it's very comfortable. It's soft.
Yeah.
And,
It hasn't rained on it yet, so we don't know how
no.
waterproof it is, but like it's
I've got the pants.
looking schlick. I'm also wearing the cool stuff. I've got the hat, the hoodie, and the pants. And what I like about the pants especially is that they tuck over top of my shoe so I don't get any sawdust in my shoe. How's that for bending? We made pretty good progress yesterday, slept on it overnight, and I think we're on the right track to get it all done. This is our kind of our secret weapon, and this is really bendable plywood. It's actually, that's what it's designed to do, is bend plywood. And we're using it as a scab piece when we don't end up on one of the ribs, because if we had to wait until we got to a rib, we'd waste a lot of material. So we're just scabbing the flexible plywood wherever we need to kind of carry on. I think what it's going to look like at the end of the day is a big ball of yarn, which is really cool. As you guys can see, it's coming along. We just got to kind of just trudge through it and kind of work our way at it. Don't stop and just keep working at it, because that's how you finish those monotonous tasks. And to be quite honest with you, I don't mind those tasks. I, in a former life, used to do a lot of repetitive tasks when building, you know, really intricate stuff, and this is kind of right up that alley, so I don't mind it. Don, are you on the same page?
Sure.
Let's get this on there. Just going to quickly demonstrate what I'm doing here, and this is traditionally what happens in wallpaper hanging, is you do a double cut. Now, right now I'm not going to do a double cut, I'm going to go do a single cut, but I'm using the backboard to line up my front board, because otherwise kind of lining up anything on a round sphere is hard. So I've made these long and they just kind of carry on past. I'm going to use a straight edge and I kind of look through the board and see the piece behind, and I mark it like that, and that gives me an idea of where I want to cut it. Now, where it takes a little bit of skill is you're going to use a skill saw. I guess you could use a hand saw. And then you're going to cut through, but not cut all the way through and hit the metal. And you can see the cut there. And then what I have to do now is just cinch in the boards, and you'll have it tight against the thing. You tuck that right in. I gotta give it a little more cut. There you go. Now repeat the process a couple hundred times. The old woolly bear caterpillar, you can tell how bad the winter's gonna be based on how long its fur is. If you can tell how long that guy's fur is. Just give you guys a little bit of an update. We're really coming around on this thing. We have got, I don't even know how to tell how much is left to do because it's a round. I don't know what percentage. What percentage would you say? It's like a pie chart, but it's round. 75%. The problem is the 5 bands of the long stuff went really quick, and then the little infills, it requires a cut, like a custom cut on both sides. So we're running into a little bit of a, methodical sort of time thing. It's just taking a lot of time to do the infills. And you guys are probably thinking, why didn't you just keep going with the long ones? Well, as I was telling you guys, you can only go 5 bands before it changes the actual, the 5th band tends to stand up straight. So we have to go on an angle, like Don just fit in there. So we got the straight bands, and then we're alternating directions on the infills in order to kind of give it a little bit of style. But it is a long go. It's been a long journey, but we're making it. We're getting there. We even actually started earlier, and we actually worked late in order to get a lot of this done. So we're just gonna keep plugging away, and hopefully we can show you the final product before the end of this video, at least.
Getting the ladder, am I?
No.
Okay.
How much more do we want to roll it?
Actually, that's a nice working height, I think.
Okay. As the world turns, these are the days of our lives. How long did that take us?
That section?
Yeah,
Actually, that was our fastest one.
it
Yeah.
was like an hour and a half.
About an hour, I think.
An hour and 10, an hour and 20.
Yeah,
That's
something like that.
not bad. So if we do the math on that, we got about
2 more days.
2 more. Yeah. All right, well, come on in, guys. Coming into the ball. It'll be a lot easier to get into this thing once it's upright. The door currently is on the bottom side. It's going to be sitting a little bit more horizontal when everything's said and done. We just got it rolled so we can work on the little slices a little bit easier. As you can see, there's a little bit left to do. And by little, I mean quite a bit. This is the time-consuming part of any job. Most of the jobs, you get it going and you get it started and you're like, oh my God, look how much progress we're making. And then the 10%. The 10% is what gets most people in trouble, is that they either get the satisfaction from the 90% and then they leave the 10% and they just go, I'm done, and never get anything done. So I am the guy that gets, I like to get everything done because it kind of, I'm a very linear dude. So I always like to get ahead of the build and kind of think past my nose when it comes to stuff like this. I was thinking about what to do for waterproofing and then making it a little bit more solid. And I was on Princess Auto's website the other day, and they've got fiberglass resin. And I was thinking of maybe coating the upper hemisphere of my globe with fiberglass resin to kind of waterproof it and make it really solid, like a really hard shell. But I'm not certain of that yet due to the kind of confined spaces of the ball. I don't know if I want to be huffing fiberglass resin for that long, but that's currently on the cards. Or I have a plastic tarp that I could inlay into the slices, and then I've got some really heavy duty silicone that I can butter up all the edges and then maybe spray adhesive it to the thing, because I'm not really worried about the cladding. I'm just worried about the water getting inside the sphere and kind of dripping down. So that's what I'm dealing with. I don't know if you guys want to weigh in on that and maybe leave your suggestions down below to maybe you guys have an input on how to waterproof a ball. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, why didn't you waterproof it from the outside? Well, there's a couple of reasons why I didn't do that, and it's because I'd be poking a billion holes in the thing by putting the cladding on. Now, there is self-healing membranes like Blueskin. That sort of stuff is an exterior grade product, and if I put it on the roof, I'm kind of making it interior grade product because I'm not sealing it. I'll let you guys weigh in on that, and in the meantime, I'm going to button up my holes because that's the first step in kind of closing the space and making it whole. So this is near the North Pole. And I'm having to fill in these little areas here, but it's becoming, well, it's not that it's becoming an issue, it's time consuming. So what I have to do is actually take little pieces of flexible plywood and splice them in. And that allows me to kind of bridge the gap. So this little guy here is gonna go in this location. So what I'm having to do is cut and fit every single little piece like this. Like this. And what I'm doing is I'm actually screwing them in lightly, and then I'm taking a shim and putting it under here to give me the curve that I need in order to maintain the sphere, because otherwise it'll look blocky and square, and I don't want that. I want it to be round. What are you making?
We're gonna have some Pillsbury cinnamon buns to go with it.
Nice. And you've looked at this recipe, and the method we're cooking it is on a cast iron frying pan?
Yes, I looked briefly online for a second and seen that other people do it and figure we can make it work.
We should try it, right?
Yes.
So like we got our cast iron cooking. Let's preheat it.
Ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Exciting!
That wasn't that exciting. No sizzle. What do you think, Bean? How did you get a coffee so soon?
I brought it with me from home.
Oh yeah.
It's a satisfying
Mine's
sound.
my way refreshing. Is it freshing? It's more fresh. Mine is more freshing. What'd you make over here, buddy?
It's fire.
It's a fire?
Yeah, I tried making it, but it's my my little buddy Evie.
Yeah.
He's involved.
He's evolved?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an evolved Pokemon?
Yeah.
Nice. Is Frankie helping?
I think that the pan was kind of not centered and these ones got a little burnt.
Cast iron isn't your friend?
No.
You put enough icing on anything, it'll taste delicious. What do you think?
Yeah, we are camping.
Camping? Yes. Don, you got any words of wisdom? How are we managing to do this? This is we're going okay on this thing, or
I think we're making good progress.
yeah,
We seem to have a technique down now, near the end.
we're learning a lot. Yes, near the end of the cladding of the ball, we're getting to the point where we're experts. So next time we build a ball, which is going to be never, at this rate, we'll know how to do it. It's always the first one that's hard. Are you concerned about the quality of the cinnamon bun?
You have to wait.
Too hot? It's too hot?
Yeah, I just burnt my finger a
Too
little.
hot.
Yeah.
Can you smell that, Dawn?
Smells delicious.
Doesn't it smell delicious?
Smells like
Like,
fall fair.
doesn't it? Here you go. Here's your
Thank you.
custom-made charcuterie board with your cinnamon bun. It might be made of lava.
Take a tiny
Try it.
It's cooked.
Is it cooked? Is it good? You're eating the icing. Well, they're good. They're cooked, I think.
It tastes like a marshmallow.
I'm gonna choke on my cinnamon bun. We're gonna enjoy our treat and get back to work because this thing isn't gonna shoot itself. All right, we're at the final countdown. We got it's actually two little slivers left. And I finally figured out the optimal way to do it. I've got a fancy tool. I don't know if I've ever introduced you to this tool here. This is, I guess the brand or the Kleenex version of this is called the Fiend tool. This happens to be a Mastercraft version of it from Canadian Tire. And what it does is it's like a little oscillating tool. I call it like the dental tool in the construction industry. And what I'm using it for is what I'm doing is actually placing the piece of wood on the ball and then using this to strategically, precisely cut it to fit. It gives me my angle and it gives you my size all at once. It's sort of been a game changer on speeding up the whole process, other than this isn't gone very fast at all. Leads me to another thing. You ever heard the saying balls to the wall? It's interesting to think, where do those things come from? And so I looked it up, and as it turns out, back during the Vietnam War, the fighter jets had a ball on the top of the joysticks to control it
I don't know, I've never driven a fighter jet before, but as it turns out, balls to the wall means full throttle in aviation terms. And it's kind of like, you know, pedal to the metal sort of thing in automotive terms. That's my fun fact for the day. Let's go balls to the wall, boys. Get this thing done. And girls. Another fun fact, I only screwed my finger once. I got my pinky finger the other day, and I pinched my finger. It hurt. But it's healing up. I probably should have got a stitch. I kind of got the tip of it, and it kind of, yeah. There was a lot of swearing in the woods with Kevin. I've got my fire extinguisher here. I've got my welder because I forgot to attach a piece of metal to the door to screw my wood to. Test it. So this is 2.5 gallons of water in a pressurized container, and hopefully I don't need to use it, but if the welder decides to set my ball on fire, I have a contingency plan. I'm going to hook up my welder to my EcoFlow Delta Pro, and hopefully that'll power it in order to tack on some strips around the door in order for the wood to actually have something to attach to. Otherwise it's just a kind of a door with nothing to attach to, just little pieces of metal. Figured I'd get it all ready. First I got to cut all these guys down so I can actually see what I'm working with and make sure the door works. But well, that opens up a whole new world of possibility. I'm just checking 93%. I started at 96%. I used 3% battery power on the EcoFlow Delta Pro to weld up or just tack all of these metal strips to the side of my door, which is crazy. I didn't realize that I could actually do that. Turns out it works really, really well. So now I can attach my cedar all the way around my my edge, because that's going to be my my flange. I don't want to have it proud or sitting in front of it because I want to have a door jamb here. So I want to have the wood inlay inside the door. So when you look at the door, all you see is a door with cedar inlay.
Burning the old midnight oil last night, I ended up getting a couple more cross braces to ensure my curve goes all the way around. So I welded those guys in place, and they'll help support the curve. In order to fit my door, I ended up using more of my cedar, but instead of putting it on top of the steel structure, I actually inlaid it inside of the structure. Now, I took each piece and I used self-tapping screws to screw in around the perimeter of the door, being careful not to split the wood. So what I would do is actually screw it in and then back it off and then screw it in again. And that provided a pilot hole before finally securing the piece of cedar in place. And then I worked my way down the door, securing each board as I went in order to maintain my bend. And when I'm done, I got a pretty cool looking door. Well, all we got left for the outside is the little crown hole. The crown hole is gonna go through the chain. It's gonna go up inside there. And look at that, fits pretty good. And cedar tends to expand and contract with the rain. So what's great about the exterior of this thing is it's going to swell up when it gets wet and add a little bit of weatherproofing just by nature itself. That's pretty cool. Oh, it looks like a game of Plinko. Oh, a little bit of work in here. Gotta grind all my screws off. In order to work on this thing, I'm gonna lower it because it's always easier to work on something when it's at ground level. You don't have to climb so much. What you got there?
Hopefully some water.
Hopefully, does it work? Did you try it?
haven't
You should
tried
test it. You gotta pull the pin. There you go. That's our safety eventually. We are going to be grinding. That's our first order of business, is to get rid of the pokey bits that are protruding out of the ball. You see the door, we had self-tappers that are coming through the metal. The idea is to get rid of all of those. And then the inside, there's a whole pile of them as well that we're going to get rid of. And yeah, it's going to be a fun job just on itself. Anything to do with round is extra hard. And that's probably why I'm drawn to it so much. So anyway, safety first. We've got Don manning the fire extinguisher. So if you see flames, just
I'm covering it.
all right, good.
Okay.
Holy moly, look at that mark on my nose. I'm not breathing any of it, but it's going in my eyes, which is the smoke, because I guess I'm touching. You can see actually the miasma is kind of wafting out of the ball. The air quality in there is not great. It's the smoke. It's not the dust or anything. I'm filtering that out, but my eyes are sucking it in, and it's like sitting by a campfire. Like, yeah, I'm gonna grab a fan. Got the fan and the EcoFlow, and blow some fresh air in there, some oxygen in there. I don't see any fire yet. That's good news, because that wouldn't be cool. In order to use the spoke for the floor, I first had to prep it. By prepping it, I mean I had to take the center ring off, because that would have sat proud on my finished floor, because afterwards I'd have my plywood on. So what I did was I worked with my angle grinder, and I ground off all the welds in order to pop off the steel ring that was there protecting, I guess, I don't know, the welds or something like that. And then once I was done, I actually cut off all of the spokes except 2, which I could have reused because I'd be able to slide it through the door. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to get the entire spoke through the door. And then once I was done that, I was able to use it as the first piece of my floor. All right, now that we got the center spoke cut to size, we're going to weld it in place for my floor. I got Don, he's gonna make some more spokes for the wheel, and I'm going to weld them in as I go. Hopefully this works. I've got the welder hooked up to my battery pack. Don, you're shooting sparks at the camera.
What?
You're shooting sparks at the camera. In order to make our flooring, we ended up using one of the spokes that were in the center of the wire spools. We saved them, and what we did was we actually cut off the spokes that were going to get in the way, and then we left 2 of them on there. We put it inside the sphere just to kind of measure, rough measurement, and then we marked it out, and then what we did was actually use that as a template for the further spokes, and then we took our welder, plugged it into the EcoFlow Delta Pro, and we ended up welding all the spokes back on to create a nice looking floor. And then afterwards, we're gonna end up putting a piece of plywood on that, and will give us a nice solid floor. In order to build my floor in my sphere, I ended up taking a 4x8 sheet of plywood, 5/8, good, no sides, because they don't sell good plywood anymore. And I found the diameter, I divided that by 2 to find my radius, and then I put a screw in the middle of the plywood, and I used my tape measure as kind of a guide. I hooked it on the screw, and then I drew myself my circle. But since my plywood wasn't wide enough, I ended up using the offcut to add to that piece of plywood, and then carry on with my circumference of my circle to trace it out in order to give myself a perfect circle to function as my floor for the sphere. All right, we got all the screws cut off. I just got Dawn in there with the central vacuum cleaner, and we're sucking up all of the metal filings and the debris and all the chunks of screws that we cut off, because we don't want those in our mix. The idea now is to actually, we're gonna fiberglass it. We're gonna attempt to fiberglass it. I've never done fiberglass resin before, but I wanna try it. And this is a pretty good project to try it on, so we're gonna try to stiffen up our wood that way. Our subfloor is done, and it's extremely comfortable. Although it wasn't fun installing it, we had to key it into all of the corners in order to fit tightly against the exterior wall, as you guys can see. It's good to finally have something sort of flat to stand on. We've been kind of tiptoeing around on the joists for a while now, got something that we can stand on. Maybe we can move on to the next part. All right, it's fiberglass resin time. Dawn is going to mix it. We're going to do it real time. And we're going to mix a quarter of that can. We got some resin from Princess Auto. And so we mix that up. And we put the hardener in. And then we have a very limited amount of time to work it. Yep. Is that a quarter of that? That's about a quarter. The next day, I figured I'd give you guys an update on the resin fiasco. Yesterday, Dawn and I mixed up a number of... Well, hi, Frankie and Bean. What are you guys in here for? You guys just saying hello? That's cool, eh? Whoa. Hey, calm down over there. This isn't going as easily as I thought it was going to do. I don't know what I expected, but I don't know. We're giving it the old college try. The fiberglass mesh doesn't seem to want to adhere to it, so what I've done is instead I've used screen, old polyester screen, and I think that's going to marry itself to the polyester resin. So I'm just doing my test strip now just to see if it's going to work. So we mixed up some resin, we applied it to the wall, and it turned into like a fibery mess of acrylic and fiberglass, and it's not quite laid flat, and it cost a lot of money, and it stunk real bad. And well, there's lots of drawbacks, and probably I'm not very good at doing it. So I'm going to do something a little different today. I am going to mix up a non-resin based material. It's going to be composed of cedar sawdust, glue, some water, some acrylic bonder, like a latex primer. And what the goal is today is to fill up all of the cracks that are in all of the spaces in the wood, because I want to put waterproofing on it, but if I put waterproofing on it with cracks in it, it's going to flow through the cracks. So I have to first fill up all my cracks in order to give myself a nice solid surface. So that's going to be my attempt. And I got Frankie. Frankie's down here. Frankie and Bean. They're going to assist me in any way they can. You guys like it in here, eh? What do you think? Yeah. Hi, Frankie. Now I just got to fill a couple of cracks in here to make sure I can't see light. Don't quite got my waterproofing done. So that's what I'm going to be doing the rest of the day. This is somewhat untested, so I will test it out for you. It is a mix of cedar sawdust and a lot of binders, which is glue, and then some latex primer, which is floor primer, which is I'm using it as an acrylic, some concrete glue, some Gorilla Glue. There's lots of glue in there, and yeah, bushcraft wood filler. I almost got like a half a 5-gallon pail. It should be enough. Hopefully it hardens. Ideally, it fills the crack. I think I'm going to spray foam it. Spray foam doesn't go through, because if you've ever sprayed spray foam, even the tiniest little crack, the spray foam goes in it and then goes right through it. So that's what I'm going to do. Right, Bean? Bean's like, well, I can help. I can help. You want some? No, you don't want any. All right, I'll check back with you when I'm done this. I'm pulling off the fiberglass. Burning the midnight oil. Figured I gotta get a coat on it today in order to allow it to dry. I ended up getting all the fiberglass and the, I guess that's the fiberglass and the resin off this panel here, and I've got it filled, and I've got all the other sides filled. I ended up getting more resin, and I actually embedded drywall tape into the ceiling, and now I'm going to coat it with a waterproofer in order to keep the rain out. And you know, it's going to be pretty much filled with hopes and prayers. Hopefully it keeps it watertight. EcoFlow Delta Pro running my little space heater, so because it is kind of cold outside, and it's actually rather toasty in here. So I'm gonna start painting with my goo. See my goo, and that's going to waterproof it. The acoustics right here are something else. That is really weird. It's like I'm talking behind myself. Whoa. Or maybe the paint fumes are getting to me. Wow, that's weird. Whoa. Well, that's a good sign. I think it's holding water right in the door. That's only one coat.
Fast forward to 2 days later, and many coats of paint. I think I'm in it for about 15 hours. I'll give you guys a little bit of a tour because I got to put the other coat on. As you guys can see, well, maybe you can't see, it's dark in here. I've taken the tarp off of the sphere, and what I'm trying to look for now is light coming in through the sphere. So what I've done is I've created a giant latex water balloon on the inside, but no water in it. A giant balloon on the inside to kind of seal out the outside, to give it kind of encapsulated the entire inside of the sphere. It looks like I'm a disembodied head. Because it's sunny out right now, I'm going to see if there's any light protruding through, and then that'll be some areas of concern that I want to really hit well with the fourth coat and seal it all up. It looks promising so far. I don't really see any light coming out, but I'm just going to close up the door and kind of give it a really good look over while in the dark. You guys can't see that, but I can give you a little bit of the show on the outside. There's a little bit of patching left to do. So you can see how it's come through. So that means I've pretty much got it right to the edge. You can see some of the wood filler here, which was the patch. That was the idea behind that wood filler, was to prevent the actual waterproofing from coming through. But it did its job pretty darn well. If you look around the outside of the sphere, you can't really see any of the black goo. So that means my wood filling actually worked really well. One more coat, and yeah, we're ready for spray foam. All right, guys, big day. Big day. The spray foamers are here. I called a favor to a friend. I've been working with this guy for a long time over at Futures Insulation, and they're my spray foamer guys. So they come, they've agreed to spray foam my ball. I'm sure the spray foamer, this will be the most interesting job he's ever sprayed. So the idea is to probably spray about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches onto the surface of the wood, and maintain sort of the steel, because I want that as an architectural feature. So if we want to just do a little bit of tour before he starts, I'm gonna get him to do the floor first, and then I'm gonna put the floor in for him, and then he can spray the rest of the ball. I'm not sure how much footage I'll actually get of it happening. You kind of want to stay clear of spray foam for at least 24 hours after it's sprayed, but otherwise it's inert afterwards, after it's done and it's cured. I highly recommend it for renovation or whatever you're going to be doing. It's the best way to tighten up a space. As I've always said, actually air sealing is a lot more important than R value, but they kind of work hand in hand. If you can't get R value, go for air sealing, and that's what we're going for in this situation, and also to tighten it up. Spray foam is very strong stuff. If you want to, you could build something out of cardboard and spray foam, and it would be really, really tough. Anyways, we're gonna let him do his thing. I'm going to stay clear. That's his thing. Let him do it. All right, first look. After the spray foam has been applied, I let this thing off gas for at least 24 hours. And we had a heck of a rain last night, and wind and all sorts of crazy weather, and it is bone dry in here. That's the most exciting thing yet. That's pretty cool. So what we got to do now is we have to free up our steel supports. Whenever you're spraying spray foam, it's really hard to kind of keep it contained, but it's relatively easy to peel off afterwards. There is a product called Spray Release, which you can spray on stuff. I believe it's relatively expensive, so you don't really want to do it, but what you can do is just mechanically strip all of the beams. So that's the plan now. And I'm gonna get scraping this stuff off, or actually Dawn probably is going to do that. No big deal, pretty cool. And yeah, we can get started finishing the inside of this thing. I'm excited about this thing. It's amazing what happens once you kind of, you know, throw dozens and dozens of hours at something. Whew. Certainly looks cool. We're gonna stucco the inside. That's a new thing I'm gonna try, because I've never tried the like applying real stucco. It's an acrylic stucco. It's not like a parging or like a cementatious stucco. It's from a company called Drive It, which I'm gonna try it. I don't think it's recommended for this sort of thing, but man, what are you gonna do, right? I think it'll work and it'll be awesome.
All right, just a little update. That's working amazingly well, other than the fact I'm getting foam in my eyes. So I've stolen my daughter's, what are they called? swimming mask, and it's got some protection all the way around the edge, so I don't get little pieces of foam in my eye. And I'm gonna keep grinding. It's working really well. It's got a 36 grit on the grinding wheel, and it's taking it off like nobody's business. So just get her done and move on.
Let's take a look at this thing here. This is the mini cubic wood stove. It's the cub version of it, and it's got the brass highlights on. It's got the brass legs with the brass door, little viewing window. It's a really neat solution to heating small spaces. It's great for you know, like a cabin or an RV or even like a boat if you want to do it. It's got like little dampers on the sides and on the fronts. I've used these in a couple of my cabins already. I highly recommend them. There'll be a link down in the description if you want to check out your very own mini cubic wood stove. Don's just in the process of actually firing up the stove, because what he's going to do with it is season it. We're going to season it outdoors, because anytime you get a new stove, that paint always kind of cures and it off-gases a little bit. We light it up outside and just kind of let it burn for a couple of hours. Light it up periodically and get a good roaring fire going, and it cures everything. That's the plan for Don, and then he's going to feed me stucco and stuff. We're going to do like a test patch just to ensure that it's going to stick properly on the inside of the ball. Sound like a plan, Don?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, sounds like a plan. So Don, you're gonna light that thing up. You're just adding a stove pipe, just get ourselves a nice draft off that.
Nice draft off of it.
Yeah,
And there we go.
Yeah, so this is the you know, custom double wall stainless steel pipe. You don't see that very often, but that's a mini cubic, I think, original. I think they designed that pipe specifically for their stove. There we go. I'm gonna shut the door. You can see how quickly that thing lights. It's got quite the proper draft on. You can see the condensation forming because she's curing, and that's how easy it is to light. It's really well designed for the airflow. There's your damper. Your damper on, off, off, on, off, on. We ended up shaving the ball down yesterday. We got all the foam smooth enough to apply our stucco, and yeah, that's our plan. This is 6-inch wide fiberglass mesh. They normally would use this for, I believe, taping drywall. It actually was cheaper than regular rolls of mesh tape, and it's got like an adhesive back on it, so in theory it would stick. Then I'm going to use a product called Trimtex, and I'm going to spray on the thing to make it extra sticky. So as you guys can see, after I shaved the ball, it took off all of the high points and anything that was sticking out. Now I'm left with a relatively smooth surface. So my plan now is to actually mesh the surface of the inside of the ball and coat it with a stucco. And then I'm gonna give that a couple seconds to kind of tack up. That smell. That's a good smell. No, it's not. Do, 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 do. Now, normally when you're doing stucco, there's like a 3-part process, and it involves like doing the foam and then a mesh base coat with a cementatious product, and then actually before that, I think they do waterproofing, like it's a waterproofing membrane, and then a cement product for durable. So if you bonk it and bang it on the exterior stuff. We're not going to be doing any of that because we don't really need it. We're using it as an interior product. So this is not exactly how it's designed to be used, but I think it's going to work well. And the great thing about this product is we can paint it afterwards. So the only reason I'm being able to afford this sort of stuff is because it's mist tints. Battleship Gray. That works for me. The great thing about YouTube is that you get the advice after you're done doing it. I'm sure there's some stucco guys out there who are going to tell me exactly how to do this once I'm done. So this is an acrylic product. So it's not even, I think it's got maybe a little bit of concrete in it. I'm not even sure. It's paintable, it's sticky, it's awesome. Let's start with that much. Let's see, start at the bottom.
Again, I've never done this before. This is my first attempt. I'm going to do one section here just to see how it's going to dry, how it's going to trowel on, and whether or not I have to do 2 coats or if I can get away with 1. Generally speaking, when you're doing stucco, you're not going to be doing 2 coats. You're only going to be doing 1, and it's like the finish coat. All right, 1 square prepped. I'm gonna let that dry up a little bit, then I'm gonna hit it again and see if I can smooth it out. What I'm finding is that the divots are where the ball wasn't completely round. I'm having trouble getting the trowel in, so I switched to the pool trowel, which you know, by design is designed to go sort of angular. The square rectangle trowel isn't working as well. But I may go to a different technique. By a different technique, I might use some different material to fill the giant divots, kind of like a pre-fill before I do the stucco, because otherwise I don't think I'm gonna have enough stucco, because I used quite a bit for that one little chunk there. But not every little section's got as big a divots as that one. I probably should have picked a nicer one to try. Cold today, it's rainy. I'm in the shop. I've got a little project to do. I've got my Cabela's Bass Pro Shops Carhartt on. I hear they're somewhat fire retardant. I'm gonna do some welding today. My plan is to take one of the last eyeball windows I have and make it into a opening light for the sphere, or window for the sphere. It's gonna kind of open like this. Going to be mounted to the side, but first I've got to fabricate something out of steel that's round. I'm getting really good at making things that are round and metal. But yeah, this is the last one I got. As you can see, it's not the nicest. I think it's just got to be cleaned, but it's these are glass from a high bay light in a commercial. So it would sit like this on top of or underneath a high bay light. I picked them up from the scrapyard when I saw them dismantling them. And they were just gonna chuck them into the scrap bin. So I got them quite a few years ago and I've had a pile of them. This is my last one. It's kind of sad. On a side note, I'm really liking these new welding gloves. I got them from Power Weld. They're nice and thin, so you got like more dexterity in your fingers. Seems like my right hand's larger than my left hand though, but anyways. These are pretty cool. Actually, I had to call up Power Weld the other day because I had some issues with my helmet and they were, you know, what's surprising is they answered the phone, which is cool, and they sent me the parts off for my helmet, lickety split. Moving on, this is the steel I have. You guys can't even see it. I can't. Oh, I left it. It's the back end of an old oil tank, and I've had it laying around for a while. So my plan is to cut a circle with this guy. I don't think I have a bench big enough to hold it. Maybe a garbage can. Yeah, put it on a garbage can, cut out my circle, and then not break my glass while I'm measuring it, and start from there. I'll get this steel down to a manageable size. It's probably too thick, and it's probably too rusty, and it's probably too old. But I'm gonna make it work. All right, guys, a little bit of a fast forward. I give you a little bit of an update on this. So I attempted this one panel with just plain acrylic stucco, and I didn't quite like the way it was setting up. I couldn't really flatten it out, possibly because I have no idea what I'm doing. So I went on YouTube and I checked out plastering, and I found a very helpful channel over at Kirk Giordano's plastering. He's got 800 videos on how to plaster. Like that's an insane amount of videos on how to plaster. And well, I went down that little rabbit hole, and I think I have enough information to be dangerous. That's how it goes when you kind of research just enough to suit your purpose. But his videos are rather entertaining. You should check them out. Anyhow, he's an old school plasterer, and he basically indicated that from what I understand is that there's a base coat, brown coat, and then the acrylic stucco goes on over top, and this is like a forever product. It turns out this stuff's worth like, 50 years or something like that, and it's traditionally an exterior product. So I think once we get it actually on and troweled, I'm traditionally a drywall guy, so I'm used to dealing with mud, and then if it's not good, I just sand it. and then carry on with another coat. So what I've done is actually I have taken what I have left over, which is polymer modified thin set, which is used to lay ceramic tile, and I've meshed the entire ball and then coated with polymer modified thin set, and I've gotten a pretty smooth surface, and I think it's pretty much impermeable now. And my plan is to knock off the high spots, and hopefully that gives me enough of a smooth surface in order to apply my stucco and then trowel it out. All right, here goes nothing. I ended up fashioning a sort of a plastic curvy mold float out of a chunk of plastic I had laying around, and I'm going to see if it's going to work. Just leave it, Kevin. I don't know if you guys can tell, this side here has not been flattened, and this side here has been flattened. You can tell the difference on camera. I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm actually gonna let it set up a little bit longer, and maybe I can hit it again. Rinse and repeat, 16 more times. I got two of 16, not bad.
How's it going, Don?
Going good.
Going good?
Well, relatively good.
Besides the hail?
Besides the hail or snow or sleet.
What? It's like raining, it's snowing, hailing, they got hail chunks coming down. Like, look at.
That film this one going in.
Yeah, I think it's gonna go in right, like lickety split. The ice might help it. Oh, it's gonna go, I think. I should have taken the line.
I should have taken the line.
Should have taken the line.
Once again.
Those chunks of hail aren't friendly. Those are the size of, like, ow, they hit you in the ear. I'm going in the ball. You want to come in?
It's foggy in here. It's a little warmer in here. It's a little humid. You can see this. Look at the hail.
They're about marble size, stucco size.
I don't know if we can go from outside to inside. Inside is quite warm and humid. Hey Don, quite warm and humid.
Yep.
And
It's smelly.
it's smelly. It's not that bad. It's that
I guess you're
sweet
used to it.
sweet smell of acrylic. I don't know if that's gonna stop anytime soon. We're gonna have to get the shovel. It's like a weird Pac-Man now. It's kind of cool. Oh, I don't know. I don't think cutting metal with a jigsaw is a good idea, but my plasma cutter died. You gotta do what you gotta do. It's just, yeah. Anyways, maybe Princess Otto's listening. I need a plasma cutter to cut my steel. I think real time on cutting that was 11 minutes, which isn't terrible. I just gotta do it a number of other times because I gotta make another ring. I gotta cut the inside of it out, but I'll spare you the pain on that one. Cut the inside circle, everything was going pretty good, and well, this starts to happen. Watch. Let's see. Well, maybe it works now. Maybe. It turned into a vacuum cleaner. It's dead. It doesn't work. Ah! Well, everything is dried. It's hard as a rock. It's crazy how hard this stuff is dry. I didn't think it was ever going to be this hard, as it's an acrylic product. But holy moly, it's hard. If you guys want a solid finish on something that you don't want the kids to destroy, this is the stuff to do it. Not only is it durable, it also, like, I think it exfoliates your fingers. So I've got it pretty much done. So the plan now is to coat it with paint, because I had 3 different pails and they all had different colors. I had a pumpkin orange one, a light gray one, a dark gray one. So I'm gonna consolidate it all and paint it all one color. Got the sprayer because I don't want to waste any more time kind of coating this by hand. So the sprayer should make quick work of it. I'm first gonna actually prime all my ribs because I want those not to bleed through. The rust tends to bleed through latex-based products. So I got a couple spray bombs. I'm gonna hit those things, and then I'm gonna spray the whole thing with latex paint and let it dry. Building balls is fun. All right, we're moving right along. We've got all our paint has dried, and we got to put a bed slash sitting area. My plan for the inside is more of a lounge area, so it's going to double as a bed slash bench. And I figure it's the biggest thing in the room, so I should probably get it in first before I position everything else. There's going to be a wood stove, and I got a giant window that's going to go in either the upper or the lower, depending on which way I want to do it. I haven't decided yet. The only problem I might have is that the steel is going to be slightly too rounded and going to fit too far into the room, so I might have to bend that a little bit in order to get it to fit. But otherwise, I think we're moving right along. It's very echoey in here. I got to get some soft things to kind of dampen the sound. But first things first, we're gonna get the bed in. That's actually not bad at all. Just kind of using this as a template in order to mark my where I want to cut it, because I'm going to span 4 spaces. So I'm going to put it from here to here. It kind of gives me the back wall, gives me a space at the front, and then I got my fireplace behind where you guys are sitting, and then the window somewhere there. Got our bed rail all sized up. Plan is to go from here to here. Weld this guy in place. I kind of like the color of the rust. I think I might paint all the ribs rust color. I'm not sure yet. It's got that industrial look to it. Because if you can walk over it, you can weld it, right? That's kind of what they say. If you guys look closely, I actually I welded on a like a bracket so the wood can sit inside. Inlay. Check it 6 times, right? 6 times. I think it shrunk. What do you think, buddy? Hey, Frankie? Hey. It's my favorite time of any build is when I install my fireplace. Did I mention I love fireplaces? I love the ambient glow of a burning wood anytime I can. I got my little mini cubic wood stove here. This is the cub version. It's small. It takes about 5.5-inch wood. This is the heat shield that is an optional buy. It's all made of stainless steel. And this is the plan. I think it's gonna go in the middle here. One of the benefits of using this, the Dryvit stucco, is that it's added a lot of thermal mass to this ball. So it retains the heat really, really well. Not to mention there's spray foam all on the walls. I don't think I'm gonna have a problem heating it. It's gotta make up like a bracket to hold it. I've got the equator to screw into. It gives me something nice and solid to screw into, and then just kind of straight up and out. And I gotta cut a hole in the ball, which is kind of unnerving to cut a hole in the ball. But hey, this is where it's gonna go, right there, I think. I'm gonna go from the outside. Holy, holy! That's a holy. Look at a cross section there. You can see our waterproofing. You can see our foam insulation. You can see how sturdy the stucco is. It's flexible yet sturdy. Holy moly. I didn't think it was gonna be that hard to cut through that. That's insane. Oh, one more hole. Got all our pieces cut. We've got our circle, which is gonna have the glass attached to it. It's gonna be able to open. And we've got our other circle. And then I cut some flat stock up because I went to price it out, and I guess it's like $27 for something that's about 3 feet long, which I would have needed a bunch of it. I can see I should have enough of this stuff. So now all I gotta do is weld it up and see if I can actually make it work. I have a pretty good example of the way it's supposed to be because Dennis made me one before, and I kind of learned from his design, so I'm going to do a little takeoff of his design. I'm a big fan of Makita, and it's kind of neat because it actually oscillates. It kind of jumps forward, and I actually was cutting a lot better than the Craftsman, and it's got like a metal foot, and it's relatively stable. And I like how you can kind of see through the tip of it, and it's got a clear view. I guess you can slide that guy down too, and hide your stuff if you got stuff kind of flying at your face, and it's got speed control variable thing. So that'll be a nice addition to the Makita workforce. But now we weld. This little guy here is the flange that the window is going to be stuck to, and then I welded a drip edge right here, and that's going to allow the water to hit here, hit this drip edge, and then kind of go around the edge and not drip inside the cabin. I just still has to weld a hinge on. I'm going to do that after, probably get some paint, grind it down, and weld the hinge on, and then I'll have my window all set and ready to install. In order to attach my flat stock on the side of my window frame, I ended up taking the flat stock and tacking it on with my welder, and then slowly bending it around the circumference of the circle, and every once in a while adding a tack to kind of hold it in place, and then I'd bend, and then I would tack, and then I would bend, and then I would tack until I was all the way done. And then what I would do is actually take my welder and do a firm bead all the way around, kind of locking it in place just to make sure everything doesn't move once it's installed. That, my friend, is one comfortable bed. Actually, look how big it is. It's like regulation size. It's like 83 inches long. That's like a king size length. It's got you can do the old, like, look at that. You got space for another. You can sleep in the fetal position. You can get like 4 people in here. This thing kind of looks like a Jesus fish. It's it took a while to build. This is pretty cool. I'm gonna get some bedding, I think, from Cabela's Bass Pro Shops. They've got some really comfortable sleeping bags and bedding and stuff like that. Some pillows. This would be like a comfy little nook. We got storage underneath. I'm pretty excited about this. My welds are holding. They're holding. I swear they are. Look at. Oh. We just have a nap right now. This is comfortable. Oh. We're at the stage of the game where we're going to be putting in our window. This is the completed bubble window. As you guys can see, I don't know if you guys can see that at all. I gotta see if I can show this to you. It opens. I hope it opens. It's not. There. Just like a hatch opening. The plan is to stick it at a level. I'm gonna break it before I install it. It's always kind of nerve-wracking while installing window. The plan is to actually put it right about here, in like right about there. I think I like it. It's a question of do I center it? Maybe I need the assistance of Dawn. You come in here for a second.
You rang.
I rang. Yes. Can you? We're gonna center it between these things.
Okay. So you want me to measure or hold?
Measure.
I think I'd want it a little higher.
I don't want to get too far into the curve.
Okay.
How about there?
Okay.
I just gotta cut it now. All right, you're gonna go somewhere safe, window, cause danger. Good?
Yep.
Oh. Just go in the hole and say that then.
I got nothing.
How's that for the coolest porthole ever? That's cool. I guess because I've been in this ball for, I don't know, like 6 weeks now, finally having a window and you can kind of see outside. It's very, very, very neat. And you can see the cross section of the ball. You can see the stucco, and then you can see your spray foam, and then you can see the waterproofing, and then you can see everything is kind of consolidated together. Nothing kind of blew up when we cut that out, which is very cool. I'm very impressed with how that worked. That stucco is crazy hard. You can see the blade. I don't know if you guys can see that. Very. She polished it. I guess that's all the stone, the aggregate that's in the stucco. It's yeah, a couple blades. We got the hole in there. Let's just see if the window fits.
If you guys are curious on how I tied the flashing into the waterproofing membrane, I actually ended up using a drywall angle and cut it into slits and then kind of bent it around. So what's going to happen when it rains is the water, if it gets through the cladding into the waterproofing membrane, it percolates out through this little section here. It'll hit this, follow its way down here, past the chimney, and carry on down. That should work. And then the boot, this little boot guy here, goes on top to keep all of the water off getting through this little hole here into the cabin. All right, bringing you guys up to speed. The other day, I ended up doing a lot of stuff off camera. I ended up taking all the ribs and I painted it with a rust trem clad paint, kind of like an ode to its original form of rusted steel. I kind of like that look. I ended up taking the bed out, I sanded those down, and I varnished the top, so I've got a nice smooth surface for once I put my bedding on top. I got the cubic mini stove installed, and I had it fired up the other day just to dry the paint. It was rather cold yesterday, so that was really good at drying the paint. It you know, lowered the humidity considerably, and I had actually fiddled around with the door trim around the door and the door jamb in order to get that all buttoned up. So it was a lot of fiddly stuff the other day. I didn't really film because it just takes that much longer to do, and especially when you're doing stuff that you're not real excited about, you know what, just get it done and move on to the more exciting things. So as you guys may know, when I cut the inside of the window, I kind of had a little bit of an angle, and it turned out it was actually a good thing because it made the cut wide, and that allowed me to actually put sealant around the window and have it marry up against the thing and actually tie into my existing membrane, but it left a kind of a nasty looking gash on the outside. So what I've got here is it's weather stripping. This is actually from the garage doors, and it was on the bottom. And what I've done is I've made kind of like a hula hoop and a piece of stick, and I've joined them together, and what that allows it to do is give it a nice pretty gasket all the way around. So you know what, you could silicone that, or you can just leave it like that. If you ever need to waterproof it in the future, it starts to leak, you can go inside, you actually just take your gasket off and service your rubber all the way around the window. I think that's an ideal solution. I got my flooring. This is my flooring, and I pre-cut it to size. It fits in my sphere. This is a roll end from Bigelow Flooring, my favorite flooring store, and it is 68 inches in diameter. This stuff's Congolium, which is, it's like linoleum, but it's like waterproof. It doesn't have that paper backing on it. It's like all vinyl, and yeah, some nice stuff. It's darn near bulletproof. All I do is kind of, if you can loose lay it, then they can silicone the edges. I don't know which. Do I want to go diagonal? It kind of looks like hardwood floor. I don't know if I want to go diagonal, or if I just want to go straight in. Just gotta cut it with ribs. It's darn near perfect. Look at that. That's the easiest floor I've ever installed, right there. Oh, it's been a long haul. I gotta let it, actually I gotta fire up some more wood in here to make this thing settle down. Easiest floor ever. This is the gist of it. That's how easy the floor is. It's already getting cozier in here. What'd you do there, Don?
I got really warm.
Yeah.
Because it is very warm in here.
Isn't it? The paint's drying excellently. Look at that, just cooking. Look at that. So you built something. That's
I
our.
made a template. So I made a template for the bed. Apparently going to put a foam pad down.
Yeah. So we're gonna take this template that Don made out of tuck tape and cardboard, and we are going to put it on a piece of foam, and then cut it out. We're gonna have a custom bespoke bed that's going to fit tightly in this space. It's gonna be so comfy.
And I got to leave it.
Too hot, too warm, too hot. I might have put too much wood in there to
I'm getting out of the kitchen.
dry in the space. It's a good thing we made a template. Looks perfect on. Oh, it's cozy too. It's like the comfiest bed I've ever owned. We're not done yet, are we? More amenities. You guys see that? Look at $5 for an entire luxury microfiber sheet set. Luxurious, soft, and smooth. My wife told me I had to buy all the pillows. She's like, you gotta get pillows. It's gotta be cozy, soft. I don't even know what this thing is. It's like, it feels like it's faux. Smells good. It's faux. I don't know what it is. And this ones are soft too. Look at that. So cozy. Maybe this way? I don't know. Doesn't matter which way you're gonna do it. The wife's gonna come in here and she's like, you did it all wrong. Oh, Don's got another blanket. Oh, this is soft too. There, beautiful. And then I got myself a round mirror because I thought, you know what, this is kind of cool. You guys can see yourself. Look at, this is what I stare at. You guys right there. That's what I stare at, you guys. And yeah, I'm not sure how to mount a round mirror and a round ball. It's kind of like if you put it over there, you'd have like two eyeballs looking at you, which might be kind of neat. I don't know. I gotta sit on that one for a while. You know what I'm thinking? What if you put it up here? That would be kind of cool. If I could make it so it hovers a little bit, and then I could make it glow. I don't know, I'm gonna have to sit on that for a little bit. It'll help me cover up my Jesus pin. I don't know, what do you guys think of that? The other day when we got it hung, we didn't quite get enough time. We ran out of daylight to finish the inside, so I'm back here today because I'm going to finish up the inside. We had a rain overnight, and it's a good time to check to see if there's any leaks, and you guys can actually take a look as well. I got to put a doorknob on still, or some sort of handle. Seems like I always leave that to the last. What do I got to open it? Some tool in here to open this thing. What do I got? How about wire snips? Oh, there we go. Oh, it's just ever so slightly. Preliminary tells me that there is no leakage. It's very much like getting on a boat. When you push off, it kind of gives you a little bit of sway. I don't know if you guys can see that on the camera. It kind of makes you have sea legs. So the indication is that doesn't appear to be any leaks. Even the pin in the ceiling doesn't seem to be leaking. Seems to be a little bit of weeping right there, but that's no big deal. That's around the window. Now I kind of anticipated that happening. That's why I didn't really seal my gasket around. I might have to do a little bit more of waterproofing around there, but it's ever so slight. It did rain quite a bit, and the good thing about the sphere is everything that is built out of is waterproof. So if there is any leaking, it's not a big deal. It's like the inside of a boat. Speaking of boats, anyways, we won't go into the boat project yet. That's a plan for another day. But this thing, I got to get some permanent lighting. This is this little temporary lighting is getting old. It is very obnoxiously bright. See how bright that? It's just bad. So I've come up with a solution to my lighting situation, and I probably in hindsight should have ran a wire to the center of the sphere, but I didn't. But during the evening, I've come up with a solution to that, and it involves chasing a wire up to the top there and actually putting a lighting in there. So that's what we're gonna do now. Have you ever seen these guys? One light fire starter. It's like for starting fires for people that don't know how to start fires. And they smell delicious. It smells like potpourri. It's got a wick on both ends. I'm gonna try it. I've never tried it. You guys are gonna try it with me. So it takes the place of kindling. So what you would do is you'd put it in there, and I'm assuming so you can light both wicks, and then you put your firewood. And the great thing about the Cubic Mini is that you don't have to. You don't need a lot of wood. It takes 5-inch wood, and like I was saying, it's not a super cold day. This is slightly too big. Too bad I don't have a lighter. Damper open. I probably could have lit that with a lighter or a match. But it's actually really great about these stoves is that they have a very good draw, a really good draft. So there's the damper at the front, so you have it wide open, and then you make it sure it's wide open at the back so it's got air on both sides. And that's it. Just light her up. So you can, I don't know if you can see my breath. It is a little chilly. This is my plan for lighting. This is the indoor-outdoor LED strip. I picked this up actually from Princess Auto. It had it in the surplus area at the back, so it was like crazy inexpensive. And I think it'll serve my purpose because it has the ability to be indoors or outdoors, and this happens to be both. It is indoors and outdoors. Bonus is that I can change the color depending on what I want. So if I want, like, you know, spaceship, I can have it green, or I can have it blue, or I can have it just white, or I can have it strobe in and out if you want one of those freaky nights. Anyways, all right, let's get this started because I'm just rambling on. Hindsight is 2020. So yeah, the plan is to drill the rib, and then because they're hollow ribs, I'll be able to fish a wire up through that thing and get to the top easily enough, I hope. All right, one hole in the top. Tip of the day, if you don't want to get metal shards in your bed, you take your old cup, this happens to be a McDonald's cup, and you drill a hole. Look at that, double lined. I don't need that part. You drill through the cup, having your drill bit come out the end, and then what you do is you sleeve. Gotta watch where my rib is because it keeps turning. And then you take your cup, you line up your drill bit, you take your cup, you stick it right up against your surface that you're drilling, and you drill, and all your filings end up in your cup. All your filings end up in your cup, and then you don't have a disaster on your hands with metal filings in your bed. What the camera doesn't illustrate is that I'm swinging. I don't have any low voltage wire, so I'm going to use really high voltage wire. And what you do is you push the wire into your hole, and it hopefully comes out the other end. I got blue. Okay. Well, you can kind of see that it kind of works. Hello.
Knock knock.
Are you gonna come in?
I'm gonna give it a try.
You got your sea legs?
I don't know.
It's a little wiggly.
I did bring donuts and coffee though.
Excellent. You're welcome in. Come on in. Here. I grab this. And that. Ooh, don't.
But it's gonna like tip my way.
Well, yeah, you got grab on and hold on.
Are you gonna like help me?
I can't help you.
You can help me.
What do you want me here? Want me to give
don't
you? You gotta put your foot up there. There you go. Sure-footed as a mountain goat.
Oh
Come
my
on.
goodness. Ooh, that's scary.
Sit down, quick.
Well, I want my coffee.
It's like being on a boat. They can't tell how rocky it is.
Oh, it's. Oh, it feels weird.
Does it feel like a boat?
Yes, a little bit. Don't remember the last time we were in a boat together?
That's right. I don't think I'm feeling it yet. Frankie, you got up here no problem. Hey? Hi, Frankie. Yeah. You got lots of room in here, eh? Like, where am I gonna go lay? Can you get under the bed? What do you think? Well, does it feel like a boat or what? Doesn't it?
Very rocky.
You can't tell on camera. I gotta put the, yeah, anyways. You brought donuts. Here, you wanna get your first, you want your donut? This
I
is,
really want coffee.
yeah, well, we're having coffee.
We need a little like.
I know, there's gotta be shelves. Gotta, like, yeah, I'm gonna do a honey-do list. We need shelves.
I need somewhere to put my coffee in.
But we need like a railing. Everything's got to be built sort of like a boat. You have railing in order to hold your stuff so it doesn't, when the boat's rocking, you don't lose all your coffee or, yeah, stabilizers. Maybe we need like a mass stabilizer damper on the bottom of it to kind of counter the sway.
Don't.
Oh.
Don't do that.
I think it's okay. I think people in the Maritimes are laughing at us right now. I think it's not that bad. Get used to it. Sea legs! Well, you can always put like
Head feel funny.
outriggers on the sides and then kind of like hold it stable. Like put 3 more attachment points and then it wouldn't jiggle as much. You gotta be one with nature. You're like a leaf in the wind. Oh, this is a delicious donut.
Mm-hmm.
Did you make this donut?
No, I bought them.
Did you put it in the box?
I put it in the box.
That counts for something. You pull that pin, we roll away.
Is that your escape plan?
I don't know, you can pull it, try it. Try pulling it.
No, not when I'm in here.
Come on!
No way.
Put you to work! Does that sound scary?
Yes. I don't particularly feel that safe in here
Why not?
because it's very wiggly.
It's okay, get used to it.
I don't think I will.
You'll get used to it.
Oh. Oh, goodness.
Okay, so hold it, just for now. Keep holding it.
Can I do anything else?
No, hold it.
Everything you do
It's easy.
always
This way.
looks easy. And it never really is.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Oh, no, not attached.
So I didn't think so.
I didn't attach that side. Why?
Because there is a dart.
Okay, good. All right, now I can adjust it after.
Oh, good.
Good. Look at that.
Look, and it's a mirror too.
Isn't that cool?
It is cool. Because, you know, you need to make sure you look okay in the woods.
It's glowy. It's cool.
It is cool.
Did you put your fingers on there?
I did not.
Actually, that's probably my face. All right. Well, how about that for a light? Look at that. All we needed was 2 people and 4 hands. 2 people, 4 hands, and a little bit of coffee. It's got to be adjusted slightly. It's a little crooked, but that's okay. We got it up there. We couldn't actually, like, because there's 4 points of contact there, and it's all by tie wires. So what do you think? It's kind of neat, eh?
It is very neat. I like it a lot. Of course, the wires need to be, you know, tidied up and...
Always got the honey-do list. I just said that.
That's my job.
Our first house had a blue and orange, we had a blue wall with an orange wall, and the only reason I picked that was because there was a government building that I did that had orange and blue, and some fancy overpriced designer picked those colors. So I was like, it must be,
Must work.
must be right. I don't know. Anyways, that's why we got orange and blue in here. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
That's your cue to go. All right,
You to go.
we're going to continue on building. Thank you for the coffee
You're
and the
welcome.
liquid motivation. We'll see you again.
All right. Next time.
I think you're scuffing my door.
Well, you should put a step.
That's my next project.
You have a short wife.
There you go.
I made it.
You
Actually,
made it.
It wasn't too bad.
Do you feel like you have sea legs, or your legs feel wiggling?
I feel a little dizzy.
There you go.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, I think I got it to where I like it. I've got it pretty much evenly spaced on the ceiling, hanging down equally distance, and the good thing is it hovers. And if I need to service it, I can just take it down, just disconnect it, and then lower it. I've also got my remote control here, which allows me to change color, brightness, or as it's sitting right now, fade in and fade out. I kind of like that. Changes the mood periodically. There we go. What do we got? We got blue, and then we got purple, and then we got pink, and then red. As long as it goes this way. It's not impossible to do. I'm pleased with that right now. We're actually going to try that for a little bit and see how it works, and revisit it maybe a little bit later. All right, real world test. Take one. I've got my chains attached to the sides. I got my hooks here for when I get a piece of rubber band so I can pull my chain in so it doesn't get caught in the door. And then I got a orange strap that allows me to pull the door up. So the plan is to get out, you kind of, like a boat, you time it within a wave, you get out, you're out. And when you want to get back in, same idea, but actually you have a footstep now, which is the bottom of the handle. You grab in your sides of your boat and you just calmly get in. Easy peasy. I was gonna do a whole series of ladders, and I was like, nah, you know what? Keep it simple. Keep it simple. So, and then you just kind of haul your door up like this. And once we have our rubber bands on, we will tuck our chains to this little attachment right here, and then you pull your door closed. They'll actually help pull the door back up too. So tuck our chains back in, and then if we need a locking mechanism, actually, you know what? I got this thing. Figure I will maintain the boat theme. We could actually put that right there. All right, guys, I think we're all ready to go. I'll give you the old tour of my big hanging ball. Let's have a look. So I've got pretty much everything buttoned up. I've got my chimney installed. I just got to put the other cap on. That's a later date project. But as you guys can see, this thing swings freely. It's just swinging in the fog. I've got my window. Can you see inside? I got the lights going on. All right, let's have a look inside. So let's give the old tug. Open up the door, swings right open. And let's get on in. There we go. It's like getting on a boat. Give you guys the old dime tour. So we've got our mini cubic wood stove in here. We've got our little bit of fire going here to keep get the edge off, get the humidity out of the air. We got our little fireplace tools over here. We've got our chimney installed. If you guys didn't watch the initial, you can see that we've got our stucco here. It is darn near impermeable. You can beat that stuff up. It's gonna last a lifetime. It's a lifetime product. Underneath that, we've got about 2 inches of spray foam insulation, so this stuff stays really toasty once it gets warm. There's a lot of thermal mass in here. And then we've got our custom built bed with our nice piece of foam on it. Up on the top, we've got our LED light fixture with our very fancy mirrored ceiling. And then you can change the color depending on the mood you want. And then we've got our opening window if you want a little bit of a breeze. Again, that is custom. Everything about this thing is custom. I don't even know why I keep saying that. Everything's custom. And then, when you're all done for the day, you basically pull the door up, you crawl into bed, you hit the switch on the lights, and it's good night. All right, we have the stationary ball. It's just hanging, it's free floating. We can take it and we can spin it. It weighs quite a bit. As you guys can see, it appears as though it is pretty stable. You can spin it and it just keeps spinning. The problem last time I was in the ball near the end of it was the wobble. So what happens, stop it, is the ball goes like this and it doesn't stop. It just keeps doing this. Can you feel it? Oh, it's like The waves are getting bigger. Whoa. Ugh. I'm going to be doing the first overnight in the sphere, where I'm going to test out all of the features and all of the potential not features of the sphere and see if I can discover any kind of problems. The funky chicken. Where did my door go? That there may be, and potentially solutions on how to fix them. And if you guys haven't seen the first part, I think there's 3 other parts to this particular build, so if you guys are interested in those, you can check back. There's part 1, part 2, part 3, and this is part 4 of the first overnight in the sphere. So the problem that happened near the end of the last video, and it made me a little queasy. I'm going to show you that right now. There you guys can see the world bouncing by, wobbling, just blah. You feel that? And that, my friend, makes you want to throw up your everything. So I got a plan for that. So I'm going to just show you just on how much this thing moves. So we got to open our hatch, and then, like you're getting in a boat, you wait for your wave. So I put my foot here, and you can put your weight on it, and you kind of hop in, and then you can see that it kind of wobbles back and forth. And if you stand right in the middle, it bobbles back and forth just ever so slightly until you throw up your chiclets. It's not fun. I got a solution. Oh, and it just keeps going like that. Oh my. Okay, gotta get it. I don't know if it's true that the first time you get seasick, like the next time it just comes on quicker. I don't know. I feel worse now that I've been in there after I feel like I've been a little sick. I don't know if it's like a cumulative effect. Ooh, definitely don't have the sea legs. Every time I turn around, the spot where I'm supposed to drill goes a different spot. The reason why I don't have a longer chain is because this is spare chain. They cut 2 feet off of these lengths of chain, and I get these for free. So I got a little turnbuckle, and then I can secure that. But I don't want to secure that until I've got all of the other chains hooked up. All right, go find 2 more ribs. Last one, I got the eye hooks. Seems to be a little easier than trying to drill a link of a chain into a tree. It's not the easiest thing. So eye hook, the old Princess Auto. Get them there. I usually bulk supply in case you need one. And I got the chain. And I got my turnbuckle. And as it turns out, that bolt doesn't really want to go through the chain. So I got another bolt. The good thing about chain is you can always adjust it. Be so happy when this thing doesn't just wobble. It's the wobble. If it would sway like a, like a nice cradle that you'd rock your child in, that would work. The wobble, not so good. To your home. Go in your home. Go in your home. Come on. Oh. Why? Come on. Go in your home. Oh, almost got it. All right. Whew. Okay, so I want to tighten that one because I want the door to be that way. I think I might have to attach it to the top, which is slightly more dangerous because I don't want to go through my waterproofing. Back to the drawing board. All right, well, that's gonna have to do for now. What I've done is I've temporarily jammed 4 stumps underneath the bottom of the ball. I've got my chains tight like a drum. That pretty much dampened out most of the wobble, and I'm going to revisit perhaps at a later date, maybe attach some sort of plates to the top and then secure it maybe with a different couple of points at the very top, because I think I don't know, maybe you guys got ideas if you guys want to put them out there. I think if we support the top, it won't have the ability to wobble, because right now there's a single point of contact at the top, or maybe it needs just another 3 attachment points at the top and 3 attachment points at the bottom to prevent the wobble. Or maybe it's sitting on a stand by itself. I don't know. We'll try this out. She seems pretty stable. All right, hop in there. That's not that bad. I've got equal flow river here. This is what's powering our activity. We're at 100%. The plan. Where's the inverter button? Inverter on. We're gonna plug in. There we go. We got some light. Well, I didn't think I poked holes in the bottom, but I actually did. You can see them, one there and one there. I just missed that one. And there, I clearly missed it. Those ones I can just silicone up. They're below the equator at the lowest point, so water won't go uphill into those holes. If anything, they're drain holes. And that's why I don't want to drill the tops today, because I don't want to miss. Actually, sitting in here is significantly less wobble than it was before. I don't even really notice it right now. So that's I would say a 90% improvement on my wobble. It seems much more stable in here. Part of my plans today was actually to make a lamp, because this is still a construction light. It's very obnoxiously bright. And yeah, so I want to make a lamp, but I also want to make a shelf. Possibly a little end table, because that's all I think it needs in here. It doesn't need, it's more like a, you know, if you're a smoker, it's like a smoking room, kind of a place to hang out, relax, nice and warm. You're in the forest, so you can light your mini cubic, and away you go. So I'm gonna make a template, probably cut some steel, because I want to mount a little shelf there. Story time. The other day I was going to the dump and I had to buy a pile of garbage I had to get rid of, and anyways, I was taking my garbage cans and I was emptying them in the dumpster, and my garbage can broke, and I was like, oh, that's kind of terrible. I now have a broken garbage can. As it turns out, there was a garbage can in the dumpster that somebody had already thrown out. It was in almost excellent condition. I grabbed it. So the stars aligned, new garbage can. And then I was thinking to myself, I gotta find myself a lamp, because I want kind of like a diffuse, kind of soft light in my sphere. And then I found this thing, which is, it's seen better days. You could probably make this back into a lamp. Like it looks like the base disconnected, and like you can't see the nut, but it's in there, I bet, underneath that felt. So you could probably just kind of screw that thing in and then put this guy back on here and crimp that thing. But yeah, I don't really want to do that. The other day, ended up acquiring these are like cedar stumps. So I found these in the bush, and they were kind of trees that were cut, but they weren't cut really down to the bottom. And what I think is really cool about them is that they're, so there's another guy here, it's a little smaller, it's still got the bark on, a little bit of moss on it. It's kind of got that really neat look to it. So I think my plan is to marry this with that, and then use some sort of like I call them Edison bulbs, which are really neat looking. They got the filament on the bulb itself. You can actually see it. It's kind of like a piece of art just by itself, and I think it would look really cool. So what I'm gonna do is actually modify this guy, and I think, actually what I think is the base actually doesn't look that bad here. Let's make it into a cool lamp. Well, I get to try my light to see if it works. Hopefully it wasn't thrown out for other reasons, mechanically sound reasons. Let's see if they... What the... Hey, look at that! Ah! That's pretty cool. Let's just... I've got the inline dimmer so I can actually do this, which is... That's pretty neat. You guys can see that. I don't know if you can see... Let's see if I can focus right on the bulb. You can see the filament right inside the old Edison bulb, kind of like, I just like the way it looks. It's not offensive. It kind of, it's got that warm glow like a fire does. That's what I like about it, is that it's ever so neat. Isn't that cool? Those are called Edison bulbs if you guys want to get one. But they're, the ones that are tungsten, which this is a tungsten one, are dirt cheap because everybody's going to LED. So you can pick up the other guys really, really cheap. And really, for the amount of time you have lights on, a lot of the times, any kind of like decorative light like this, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, whatever we're pulling 40 watts right now. I can actually see on my my EcoFlow River. It shows, yeah, 40 watts. So including the glow at the top, and then this guy, which is the ambient glow, which is really, really neat. I like it. You can go bright, right dim. See how dim that goes? Right dim. You can't do that with LED. If you want to go like super bright, you can go, wah! It's actually still not that crazy bright. The camera's kind of exaggerating how bright that is. It's equivalent of a 100 watt light, but it's only like 400 lumens because of that tungsten filament that's in there that gives you the really, like, you can look at it almost. Still don't want to really look at it, but it's not that bright. I wanted to make one, and I wanted to be able to see the bulb, and I think that's really cool. That's my floor lamp. And as it turns out, the sun is setting earlier these days, so I kind of lit my fire a little late. And I'll probably have to be cooking in the dark. Hopefully not. I'll be breaking down those coals very shortly and then cook my dinner, because the sun sets in the bush. It is crazy dark. Although there is like a half moon out right now, so maybe we'll get a little bit of that. But yeah, I like the lamp. I love lamp.
Did I mention fall is my most favorite time of year? It's the time of year when you can get all that thing done. The sense of urgency that winter's coming. You kind of button up everything for that long winter's nap. Anyway, that being said, I've got to feed the fish. Their hungry pond is doing well. I figured to give you guys a little bit of an update. And yeah, they're doing great. We're just trying to, my brother and I were kind of fattening them up because we're gonna do like a fish harvest, a little fish feast. So let's see if we can wake them up. See if we can see them. I'm gonna actually give them 3 cups. 3 cups of food. 2 cups? 3 cups. That's the plan. You know what? This food smells like dog food. It's kind of interesting. There we go. See if they kind of like food right before they go to bed, which is kind of like a dusk. So it's not quite dark enough yet for them, but we'll see if they wake up. We'll just give them a couple minutes there. So those fish there that from Lyndon Fish Hatchery out in New Dundee, they are the hardiest fish I know of. They seem to thrive in, well, I guess it's cold. It's cold and clean water. And they've been doing well pretty much all summer long. See, they're feeding well. Well, fish are fed. Let's get back to work on our little projects for the sphere. We got to get her all buttoned up before nightfall. The other thing I was gonna make was a kind of like a nightstand, or even like a stool. And I've got this thing has been in my shop for possibly a year now. It is it's a pine tree I think it's Scots pine. It's got a nice little twist to it. And what I'm gonna do is actually smooth it off so it's not so rough at the top. My tool of choice these days has been the flap disc. Not even a flap disc, it's actually like an angle grinder with a sanding disc on it. And it hogs off a lot of material really, really fast. I got like a 30 or a 24 grit on here, so it's basically rocks attached to a flap disc. And if anytime you're shaping something, which I am doing on this guy, this thing works really well if you don't have access to anything else. This happens to be a battery operated grinder. And yeah, that's what I'm going to use for this thing. So I'm going to knock off the edges, make it nice and smooth, and then at a later date I'll probably end up varnishing it to give it that nice like semi, I think more of a satin finish than a gloss finish. We're losing daylight. Got my grill. Usually set that up before the fire's going, but I like to live a little dangerously. Install it afterwards.
So I got my stakes in place. Now I just gotta let the fire die down a little bit and put the grill on. And I've got, actually I picked up this scraper, which I think is really convenient because look how long it is. You can scrape from way back here. I got that from Cabela's Bath Pro Shops, and it's, if you want to clean your grill between uses, if you're grilling directly on here, I'm going to be using a cast iron pan, but this works pretty darn good, I think. Go right to about there. Cook it in the dark. Can you guys see that? Probably not. There, I got some bacon on there. This little toque is so convenient. It's got the light on it, so you can turn it on and off. So like if you're going to get firewood or something. Still a little too warm for a toque though. Whew. All right, it's dinner time. I've got, where did I go? My barbecue chips. That light is very warm. You can see how warm, and it's like candlelight. Candlelight mixed with ambient glow that just keeps changing color. I've got my dinner of champions. I've got barbecue chips. I've got my egg sandwich with bacon and jalapeno cheddar on fresh bread. Now that, my friend, is a nice egg sandwich. Got the old chips, my water ball. That's good. It's probably because it's mostly bacon. And then it's egg fried in bacon fat. You could probably fry a stick in bacon fat and eat it and it'd be delicious. It's definitely the most interesting cabin I personally have ever been in. And I've been in a lot of cabins. I found it's really convenient to grab both chains and just pull the door closed like a big hatch. The chains don't get stuck in the jam. Fits, friction fit tight. Perfect. It's good to know that. Like, it's kind of like as you use something more and more, you kind of figure out the idiosyncrasies involved with operating that specific device, whether it be a car or a cabin. You know, eventually you drive your car and all of a sudden one of the blowers doesn't work and you're like, well, I guess that's no longer a feature in my car. And you just move on, just carry on. All right, guys, it's show and tell time. If you guys are interested, I'm gonna talk a little bit about my balls, because at an early age, I was always interested in balls, and I started collecting them. And I'll show you my collection of balls right now. I have this is one of the first balls that I think I found, and it's kind of like, I don't know if you guys can see that. It's kind of like a translucent ball, and I just, you know, it's cool, right? So you just collect them and you're like, that's neat. So I've collected them ever since I can remember. I've collected them. I actually, my original plan when I saw these spools was to make a like a ball chair. Have you ever seen those chairs that look like balls? That's what was my original intention, but it's much bigger than that. I'm basically in a giant ball chair, which is kind of cool. Another ball, actually, maybe where I found the inspiration for this guy is this thing. Now this is this is an elastic band ball, and you guys can see that really closely. It kind of looks like the outside of the sphere cabin. It's got that, you can see all of the different layers, and I kind of, when I was building the sphere, I was like, well, elastic band ball, in order to keep it round, is you kind of alternate your sides. This one, I don't know how old this thing is, but like they degrade over time and they start to break, as you guys can see that. So that's a lot of elastic band balls. I think this is maybe the 5th or 6th one I created. I had a bigger one, and then I dropped it from a really, really high height, and it exploded. That's what you could do with these things, is, yeah. So this guy, many rubber bands. It got some weight to it, but that's kind of cool. And then, the piece de resistance, the latest ball that I got, was at a, like an Amazon return junk store. And they have bins of stuff, and you can kind of look through them. And I go on the $3 day because, well, I don't want to spend $25 on anything. They start at $25 and then it works its way down. But this thing is, I got it for $3, and it is a 4-inch. Can we see that? 4-inch ball bearing. This thing weighs. It weighs about like 9.9 pounds or something like that. It is insane how heavy this thing is. And it's like perfectly spherical, and it's shiny, and I don't know. It's just, you want to play with it. You just want to like play with the ball. It's cool. Look at that thing. You guys can see yourself in that ball. I can't even, it's too shiny. Can't focus on it. There it is. Shiny ball. But like, I don't know if you guys can find one of these, like one of those Amazon return stores. Take a look for one of these guys. These guys are cool. And then I looked up the price and I was like, whoa, don't ever, well, you can if you want. They're like $150 or something like that on Amazon, which in my mind is insane. Like I would, every day of the week, I would buy these things for $3. If I could get more of them, I would buy them because these are neat. Anyways, that's my current ball collection. Actually, I didn't bring all my balls out because, well, they're just too heavy. Before I get too far off the subject of balls, I want to talk about another little cool thing that I was originally going to build, but the summer kind of got away from me. It's currently, I don't know, it's November or something like that. But it's this guy here, and it looks very, unsuspecting. It's a piece of bent galvanized steel, but it's something very cool. This is actually a piece from Magidome. And if you guys look them up, if you guys want to make a geodesic dome and you guys don't want to do the math or, even really think about it, is you cut all your pieces the same length, and this bracket is used to join all the pieces together. And at the end of the day, when you're done, you get like a geodesic dome like this. I haven't built it yet. I still have the brackets. I'm kind of thinking the wife might want a greenhouse in the spring, so I'm gonna look into it a little bit later on. But if you guys are interested in making, these are kind of cool. Yeah. All right, subject of balls. That is all. It's kind of like cheating using those fire starter. There's the one light fat wood fire starter, and you just kind of put it in there. I don't need a big fire. It's not crazy cold out, but nice to take the edge off, kind of warm it up before going to bed. This thing is completely spray foam, so it's not like it needs a whole lot of heat. This is the mini cubic wood stove, but it's the Cub series, which is the smaller of the two. There's the Grizzly and then there's the Cub, and depending on the size, this thing will easily heat this thing up. I'm not sure the square footage. There'll be a link in the description below for this particular fireplace. That's probably enough. Could probably lit that with a lighter. The other thing I like about this thing is there's a damper at the front, which is right here. So that damper, and there's a damper at the back, so you can control the air both sides. So there, we lit our fire starter. Well, this is one of the cabins. I don't feel the need to wear a sweater going to bed. It's very temperate in here. Anybody else got too many pillows on their bed? That's a pretty cozy thing. Let's turn this guy off. Turn this. And this. We've got, can we turn this down? Dimmer. Does
Does this work? Can we dim it? Maybe it doesn't dim. There. It's extra dim.
It's kind of nice just sitting around watching the lights. See them dim. Change colors. So cozy. Well, anyway. See you in the morning.
Well, there we go. Red light district. All right, well, I think I'm calling it. I'll see you guys in the, my camera's fading away, my battery's gonna die. I'll see you guys in the morning. I still got a little bit of rocking. I don't seem to be feeling ill, which is a plus because you don't really want to feel ill in your house. Well, good morning. You guys are still there. It's probably like 4 or 5 degrees outside Celsius, which I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but is it snowing? No, it's not snowing. Yeah, but that overnight was like perfect. There's like very little movement in the ball. It performed excellent. There was no like, I didn't hear any coyotes, which is a good thing. Generally they run around and yelp all night. There was none of that, so it was relatively quiet. I think it's coffee time. Oh, there we go. Rise and shine. Nice cozy spot. 2 birds, 1 stone. Heat up the cabin and make yourself a coffee. Whew. It's good. Just look out your spaceship window and see how it's doing out there. Looks pretty good. It looks like it's gonna be a nice day. Got some cleaning up to do. I like this time of year when it's when the leaves have all fallen off the trees. You can actually really see how your trees are doing. If there's any, dead like widowmakers up in the forest, I might end up doing a little bit of that today. Clean up the any kind of like dead wooding, they call it, which is the removal of dead wood in your trees, and a general cleaning up sort of stuff. Anything that's laying on the ground, I like to pile, make stick piles, and the forest critters in the winter really like going underneath there and making like rabbits and hares and stuff like that. They make their little homes underneath those stick piles. So I tend not to burn them until the spring on a rainy day. Give them some overwinter, little shelter. But yeah, looks like it's a nice cool day, like a sweater weather. Yeah, whenever you're cutting wood, I like to be in a sweater. It's not too hot. Anyways. Well, I'm going to enjoy my coffee. I hope you guys enjoy your coffee as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And join me on the next one. Cheers.